Okay, well, it is, according to my computer, 1 minute after 2, so we are starting. So I want to again thank everybody for coming. And what we're talking about today is short sales. And let me just kind of go over, first of all, just what is the terminology of a short sale? Looking at it now, put your hat on as a listing agent. You've done your CMAs and everything. You're meeting the client, and you either before or when you're there, you discover, oh, they owe more than what the house is worth, or they owe almost what the house is worth, but when you throw in all of your closing costs and commissions and et cetera, that they would have to bring a lot of money to the table. And usually in these situations, that's not acceptable. They can't do it. They don't have the money. And as unfortunately with what's happened with the pandemic and everything else, I'll be honest, I expect to see a lot of short sales coming up in about 3-4 months. Maybe a little bit sooner, maybe a little bit later, but from what Jack and I have seen in the past, unfortunately, when you have these types of economic shifts, that's one of the things that follows along with it at some, forward. So we all need to understand what it is, okay? Now, you've discovered that you don't have enough money to cover it. First of all, please don't say, oh, I'll go ahead and list it for only 4.5% then, and cut your commission so much to try to make it happen. That's not, it's not good business. This is not your problem. You're there to give solutions, but it should not come out of your pocket, first of all. So do not do that. Second, what you're going to have to do is once you've got to find out from your people, are you current on your mortgage or are you already behind? If you're there, say, well, we're a little bit behind. Well, have you gotten any letters about discussing foreclosure? And if they say, well, we got this one letter and I'm not sure what it means, but it says something about next Tuesday that's going to go to some sort of an auction. Is that something I need to worry about? And the answer is yes. You should have worried about that about a month ago. You may not be able to do anything about it in 3 days, 4 days, 5 days. And it's a sad thing because we all want to help. We all want to do things. You can start the process, but I'll be honest, odds are you're not going to be able to stop that foreclosure process when you only have a week's worth of time to do it. They can get an attorney to get, and possibly if they can afford one, who will then have a stay. But most of the people that are in this situation don't have that. It's too little, too late, it might be. So, but then, oh yeah, we got a letter, we are behind, but they haven't said anything about foreclosure yet. Aha. Now we can work on it. And at the same time, now we can go ahead and work with a short sale as an option where there's not enough money to cover everything. We're going to ask the lender, that is the lender for the current owner, to basically write off and the amount that they're short from the, plus all of the closing costs that would go with it also, okay? Okay. So if they're only $20,000 short, you're not asking the bank to write off $20,000. It could easily be $35,000, $40,000, depending on what their closing costs are. So keep that in mind for people, okay? Now, once we go ahead and find out that it is a short sale that we're going to have to do, the owner needs to contact the lender, their lender, and there'll be an 800 number, that they always have to call, and that from that side of it, they will have to find out, what is the process, and they will be forwarded to a department for short sales. The process that they will have to go through, is that they will have to fill out some forms, they're like financial statements that explain to the bank, why don't I qualify, why can I not pay the whole thing? Could be, okay, this is my income, all my expenses, and then show a document that I was laid off, which unfortunately we're seeing a lot of people in Fort Bend County and Harris County that happened to. I don't have another job. All I'm getting is my unemployment, et cetera, and et cetera. So that's why you want to go, they're going to have to do that part. At the same time, you need to tell them being your clients now, that there's going to be a letter that's going to be sent out, and that's going to give the lender permission to speak to you about this situation. You need to be able to discuss this with the short sale department. If you're trying to do it all through your client and let them be the messenger, things fall apart. You end up with time lags on things, and I'll be honest, your odds of success are somewhere between 0 and 0. So that's why you need to have a letter that the tenant, not the tenant, the landlord, owner, I'm working so many other deals right now, I apologize for my terminology, but the owner will send. So you're going to say, well, Gary, what does that form look like? And I am going to show that to you right now. So there we go. Can everybody see that?
Yes.
Okay, this is obviously just an example, but you'd start out at the top, you've got your date. Up here somewhere before the date, you're going to put in example, the information about Wells Fargo, and then whatever information you have for there. Then write a RE is going to be short sale.
Okay.
Under that, of course, put in the loan number. Then where it says property address, you will have them put, you will put in the property address. And then this letter is an authorization for Wells Fargo, I'll keep using them, and any of its affiliates to discuss any and all aspects of this loan with myself. Obviously, don't put my name, put your names there, of course, okay? And notice this is what's a little bit different, but I put in the name of my title company processor, Shirlene Hunkoop of Capital Title, because as we go through the process, they will need information too. And if they already have in the letter permission for their Fidelity or Wells Fargo to talk to them, then Shirlene again can go ahead and take care of this stuff instead of having to go through you. Again, the whole idea, if anybody here is going to BOLD, lead generation is one of the key things. Well, the less time that I have to handle situations and questions from these people when they can go directly to Shirlene in this case, it's easier for me to be able to do my main business, okay? In addition, and I'm reading this, I have the authority to make any arrangements to allow the sale of this property under a short sale if necessary. And the last 4 digits of my social security number are, and again, this is this is all coming from the owner of the property. So the last 4 digits, why do they need that? Because whenever they have any documentation, first thing they want to know is, well, what's the last 4 digits of the social for security? Then respectfully, your client's name. Now, let's say their name is, I'll say Joe Adams. But in reality, if the loan has it under Joseph A. Adams, you put respectfully Joseph A. Adams and then whatever signature they do. Again, you've got to make sure, so you're making sure that these documents match up with what Wells Fargo has in their system, okay? Otherwise, again, they'll say, well, we've got a discrepancy here, which is correct, and yada, yada, and we don't have the time for delays. Now, from the time that your owner, client, starts this process to the time that we can actually have a closing, easily can be 2 to 3 months. So be aware, this is not a thing, oh, we're going to go ahead and take care of this. We'll get it all set up in a week, and then we'll get an offer, and it's a cash deal, and they want to close it in 2 weeks, and we can close the whole thing in 3 weeks from the day you first started this process. It won't happen. It won't happen. The quickest I ever had one done, the very quickest, was 4 weeks. And that was so exceptional on everything. And on the inverse, the longest one that I ever had was slightly over 6 months. Because the lender will look over these documents that the owner is going to send them, and they're going to have questions a lot of times. They'll want to have confirmation, send us a copy of this and things like that. So that can slow down the process. Here's another thing to keep in mind. You got an offer in that the other agent is going to say, for the price that you put in, you did your CMA and you put a price up there in MLS. I'll just use the number, $200,000. Is that the price that's been approved by the lender? That's what they're going to ask you. And you're going to say either yes or no. If no, then now look, put their hat on as a buyer's agent. That means that there's higher risk that, oh, just because it says $200,000, we may not be able to sell it for buy it for $200,000. And here's the reason why. The seller can approve this contract, no problem. You've got an executed contract, but the short sale is contingent upon that sales contract being approved by the lender. Wells Fargo will say, okay, wonderful, we got this, application, we're going through the process. They will send usually another agent out for what they call a broker price opinion. You may have heard of them as a BPO. That agent is going to go out there and he or she will go ahead and look at the property, usually just from the outside. Sometimes they'll allow them to go inside, and they will basically do a CMA that says this house is worth X. Well, if you have, as a listing agent, have it listed for $200,000, and that agent comes back and says, no, it's actually, we could sell it for $220,000. Bank of America says, well, in that case, we're not going to approve $200,000. We want something at 220 or something like that. So the reality is, you actually have two owners as far as decision makers in this process. One, of course, is the legitimate owner of record, but the other one is your actual lender who is doing the write-off. And if they don't approve it, doesn't matter what your CMA says or anything else, you can send back more information and hopefully they'll change it. And of course, that's adding time. But my past experience has been usually they don't adjust that much from what if you are in dispute of it, okay? Now, when you're taking the listing, getting back to that, you have to explain to your buyer, usually they will never be allowed to make money on this deal. That's because the bank is taking a write-off, okay? So you have to explain. Sometimes, once in a while, they will give them, the buyer, $500 or $1,000 at closing in order to go ahead and take care of the house in the meantime. But that's an exception. It's not common for all of them. So be aware that your seller is not going to make any money off of this deal. The only reason he or she or they are doing this is, instead of going to a foreclosure, is to avoid having additional late pays on their record and having a foreclosure on their financial record also. That's the reason we would do a short sale. They're not going to make money. Simple as that. If they make $500 later, hallelujah, wonderful. But I would not expect that, okay? So be aware that when I'm talking to taking the listing, they're not going to make money, okay? Now, I'm going to go ahead and close this document down, so bear with me for a second and open up another one. I haven't lost anybody here yet, have I? Everybody, they're nodding that they're good, so okay, good. Now I'm going into my short other thing here. And I've got to jump over.
Gary,
Here
may I
again.
say something?
Good, and boom. Now you're seeing this, a form right here, correct?
Yes.
Here's, hopefully the wife will catch the phone call.
May I ask you a question before you?
Sure.
You said that they never make any money, even when they have, if they have, I don't know, 40% equity or something, they won't get any money,
They will get no money.
independently of how many.
Doesn't matter what the equity is, okay? If they have enough equity there on it, that means that there'll be less of a write-down for that. If they have enough equity to cover all of those expenses, then you're not going to go for a short sale. You'll do it as a regular transaction. But if, let's say they've got $10,000 of equity there, the bank just looks at that as it's from what the debt is and how much is the write-off. Will the sales price cover it? They're looking at a different set of the numbers. They don't care about the equity. They're looking at how of our loan that is outstanding and all of the closing costs. Will what we can sell it for cover that?
So in other words, if there is a lot of equity, then it's not a short sale. I mean, right?
Yep.
Yes, if they've got a lot of equity there, don't be going short sale route because that they will give it up possibly. That's where this is your last resort before foreclosure. If they have any kind of equity in it, you don't want to do a short sale. You want them to save that, even if they have to lower the price way below market, and they can still make, instead of making maybe 30,000, they only make 10,000. They've made 10,000 compared to a short sale where they make 0.
Hey, Gary.
Yes, sir.
I had a home that the people had waited from July until December. And I had been in communication with them on a weekly basis. Oh no, we're going to get it sold. We're going to have somebody sell it. Well, they called me in December. I was fortunate. I had a good.
We just lost your microphone, Jack.
How's that? Is that now? On?
Yep, now we hear you again.
So all I'm saying is you start communicating with these people, stay on top of it, get that home market. This particular home could have sold for $40,000 more than it did, simply because of appreciation in values. But he waited, he trusted somebody that actually was not a realtor, and they did come out with $10,000 instead of $50,000. So just
Yeah.
what it's worth.
We are, because some of you are not in bold, what they are really pushing on right now is to reach out to everybody in your database and your phone lists and everything, because so that a lot, and come as a resource of caring and not necessarily for listing or buying in today's world. But by doing that, then these people, like Jack's people, will understand that, oh, I've got a problem. And if they're discussing it with you, first of all, you'll probably get the business later, but even more, it'll hopefully make them make a decision early and get the most for their house instead of at the last minute, especially in December, and getting much less, and plus all the other costs. Every time that they are late on a payment, guess what? Boom. There's late fees and interest that gets piled on top of all of that. And 6 months or whatever the number was that Jack gave would be a big number just by itself. Forget about any changes in the market. Okay. So getting back to Sita, for what you had asked me, if
Yes.
you have equity, have them be making decisions. Homes are being bought and sold now, not to wait until maybe later when all of a sudden maybe they will get much less for their house.
Okay.
Okay. Now, when I am taking the list, what you're looking at right here on this, on the contract here that I'm looking at is this is the listing contract that you've all seen. I'm on to paragraph 19 right now, okay? And on paragraph 19, drop down to right here, number G as in Gary, request for mortgage information. You need that from the very beginning also, along with that letter that we just looked at. The rest of this listing is the same as if it was for any other 1 to 4 family home. I'm talking about the actual contract, okay? All of the addendums are the same, except you've added in that letter in the beginning. And now you're gonna have to, even though you should always be doing, but now this request for mortgage information, because you need that officially and you'll get that signed off by your people, okay? The rest of the documents are all the same. Now, what you can do when you get into, you know, as far as your disclosures, they'll ask, are you current on your payments and stuff? And they'll answer, they are or aren't. Because you can get a short sale while you have been current on your payments. You can also get a short sale, obviously, when you're falling behind. But if they don't have the money, somebody got laid off and they say, hey, I've got enough money in the bank right now to make one more house payment and feed my family. After that, I don't know where the money's going to come from. And they're in the oil business and they don't know when they're going to get another job. Then you would immediately want to start the process for this short sale, okay? Okay. I'm going to jump over, watching my time here. By the way, again, like we've been doing, if you have any questions, please speak up and ask, okay? Okay. Then I've got to get back here in the right spot. Everybody close their eyes because I'm going to fly back to the beginning. I'll be, you know, for that. There we go. Here's my request for mortgage information form. You should all be familiar with it. And it's the same standard one that you all the information for your lender. You may not have, they may not have all this information, like they may not have an address or that, but they will have, of course, always have the name and usually an email and a telephone number over here. We're not using faxes much, hardly at all anymore. Of course, again, it's your seller. Don't forget the loan number. I've had so many people that I leave it for them to fill out. And it comes back, they fill the top part out, they sign it, and they think, oh, I've done so good, except for one thing, I still need that loan number, okay? And of course, the property there, okay? Dropping on down, it goes, who should this be sent to? It'll be Keller Williams Realty Southwest, you know, the broker, and it'll be your information right here. What I also do is when I take a listing where I have a short sale, and this ties into that first letter that I did, I will then take a copy of the entire listing contract along with that signed letter, and I take it to the title company, in this case over to Capital Title, let them know what I'm doing in that so that they can start some of that stuff on their side, because they're the ones that will have to go ahead and have this under control also, okay? But that way I have them working with me, and if they need something, again, because depending on what's the situation with this property, they can then go ahead and reach out to the title, to the lenders also. Because that letter, remember, gave them permission. And in this case, Charlene has done that with me before so many times that she'll say, this is what we needed. I called them up. I had to wait on the phone for half an hour and I finally got it, but just wanted to let you know. Instead of you having to sit on the phone for half an hour, you know, listening to their music and trying to do something else at the same time, okay? Now, on the loan, what I have always done is, since we're a community property state, even if the loan was only by say, it doesn't matter, the husband or the wife, I still have them sign, have both parties, husband and wife, sign everything. I've never had it where where paperwork comes back at this stage and, oh, we can't have her name on it, or we can't have his name on these papers. This way, we're very clear that everybody in the family that could have a claim on this property is on the same page, literally, okay? One of these things, don't do what Gary did once. One of these lessons I learned the hard way. Had a listing, husband signed everything, and he was the only one on the paperwork and everything. And I said, well, we need your wife to be in agreement. I'll take care of that. I'll take care of it, no problem. And she even greeted me at the door, so I figured everything was cool. Came, got an offer in. She wasn't going to sign it. She said, you've been disrespectful, referring to me now. You haven't had me sign anything. You want me to sell my house, and I've done all this stuff. Oh, it got ugly. She reported me to TREC. She reported me to everything. Therefore, I was found innocent by TREC, by the way, but still, it's left me a bad taste. Therefore, I always have both parties sign everything. Now, when we get to the real contract, then I will have to go ahead and talk. But remember, under the homestead laws, even though one of the people, doesn't matter which side, the husband or the wife is not on all the deed or anything, they have to sign a form releasing their homestead rights. If they won't sign that form in the state of Texas, you don't have a closing. So that's why, especially under a short sale situation, starting from here, which is unique, not the normal, all the way through at this stage, I want everybody to be on the same page, okay? Now, once the amount has been agreed to by the bank that holds the current mortgage, you'll be in contact, and they will normally send you a letter. At that point, you will then end up having, you will end up getting 30 days to actually have the closing. And at that point is when the clock starts ticking, okay? Any questions so far? Joy, we've got a quiet bunch today. Yes, Terry, you have a question? Yeah. Terry, you want to turn on your microphone?
Gary, I do have a question. So just confirming, if the spouse name is not on the contract, then we need to get the release of homestead from them?
Yes. If let's say, I don't know, in my house, my husband, my wife and I are both on the deed. But let's say, because, remember at the time, maybe my credit wasn't good enough and that, so everything's under my wife's name, would say. But my driver's license, everything is for this address because it's my personal homestead, right?
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, when I go to closing, even though she would be the ownership of everything and have to sign all those documents, I then will also have to sign a form that says that I give up my homestead rights to this house.
Is that only for the spouse or any adults that lives in the house?
Spouses only.
Okay.
Little bit of history. Why did the state of Texas do this? This goes back to the days of the 1800s. Husband had the ranch. He'd go into town, he'd go ahead and go to the gambling halls and he'd gamble it away and he'd put up the house for rent. For the game. He had the perfect hand of whatever he was playing and he lost. All of a sudden the wife and the children and he were, by today's word, would be homeless. State of Texas says, no, that's not right. You can't just sell your property without written permission from the spouse in this case. No, if I lived here by myself and my parents lived with me, they do not have to sign anything. This is purely for spousal protection. So there, now you got your little history lesson of, where it came from, okay?
Thank you.
Oh, they'll ask you, see,
Yes.
how do I determine if it, let's say it was my wife, and did I actually live here? Easy. I show them my driver's license. See? Oh, I claimed it. Therefore, it's my homestead. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll be right back. I'm going to go use the restroom. I'm finna go use the restroom. I'll be back.
Whoever that was, okay. Terry?
Oh,
Terry, did you have your hand up or?
Yeah, you said, both parties sign, husband and wife. Then you get an amount has been agreed to by the lender.
Right.
It's after that is about a 30-day process. Well, is the lender telling you what you can sell it for, list it for? I didn't understand exactly what.
That's what they will accept.
Oh, nothing higher or lower, just that's.
Well, higher,
obviously,
if you can get
if
higher,
they take
they
higher.
never argue with that. But
Correct.
it's the lower, because unfortunately, it's very often when we're into a short sale, these people have had financial issues and they just haven't had the money for some of the upkeep that goes with the house.
Got it.
And if I did an inspection of this house, odds are I would find more things that need to be worked on than, say, a home in the neighborhood where they've not had this type of economic problem.
Right.
Which reminds me also, normally for every short sale, they are as is. The
Okay,
seller
that's it.
does
As
not
is.
have the money to do repairs normally.
Got it.
That's a biggie for your,
So-
because you have to explain that to the buyers. Okay, go ahead, Terry.
So from the time you submit all this, does it take about 30 days for the lender to decide what they're going to let you do it for? Or is it vary?
It varies. It varies.
So it could be
Because-
it could be a month and then another month.
Oh, he's like, here's the
Okay.
thing. They have to schedule an agent to come out and give this broker price opinion.
Okay.
So he or she usually has sometimes it's a short window, sometimes it's up to 10 days, but
Okay.
they've got to go out and do their thing and then
Yep.
get it back to them. Then it's like any bureaucracy. They
Right.
have to go ahead at the banks.
Okay.
Somebody has to
Okay.
review it and look it over and yada, yada, yada.
Got it.
There is normally, the homes are as is.
Mm-hmm.
And there was something else I was thinking. You'll still have an option period. And trying to think, there was one other thing I was thinking of when you were talking before. And,
HOA?
HOA is part of the, if they're behind on their HOA, then that's the lender has to go ahead and take care of that. And that's part of the write-off that they're factoring in on you also.
Okay.
Because the HOA, at least legally, has the right to foreclose on you. So they want to get that claim out of it also and get that paid off.
Okay.
Title
You want to know
company-
that ahead of time because they can be bugaboos at the end.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And before your seller starts contacting everybody saying, I'm getting ready to sell the house, as far as people that they owe money to and stuff like that, we really need to go ahead with a conversation with you because you need to be telling them, wait a second, if all of a sudden if they start putting liens on the property, then all of a sudden, guess what's going to happen? You're going to be owing more and more, which will be more and more that the lender is going to have to write off, which means
Right.
there could be a better chance that they won't do it.
Got it.
Approve it. You will reach a certain point that for the bank, they'll say, wait, we can go ahead and foreclose on it, even with all of those expenses, and still sell it off in today's market and make more money than we would by writing off all these other things.
Got it.
Gary, how do we find out about liens in the house?
I don't. That's why my friends at the title company are checking
Oh,
that.
title company, okay.
That's why I'm taking all this stuff to them in the beginning. Theoretically, you could, if you wanted to, you can go to the county clerk's office and check for all the liens on that property. And I'll be very honest, no disrespect to you, but you do, and I don't want to do that. If you miss one, your liability is so much, somebody will own you. You don't want to do that. Let the people that are the experts, the title companies, they will do that search and let you know, oh, guess what we found? Or, hey, life is good and simple. It's only one lender. Okay?
Okay.
Okay.
Hey,
Thank you.
Gary, you know, they had a question about length of time, and then you talked about as is. I found that agents that are submitting offers do not seem to understand that as is.
Right.
I had a conversation with an agent about that, and that was after he submitted an offer, and I said, hey, you understand this is as is and no repairs will be done. It's a short sale. And they went ahead with it. Well, I learned, I knew this, but the lesson that I learned from that whole thing is the appraiser came out and called one thing out. Well, guess what? That agent then had to pay to get that issue taken care of before they closed. And it was over $2,000.
Yep.
Just saying.
It's truly as is, where it is, with no warranties or modifications, and what other pretty legal words you want to throw around it.
Exactly.
And if you've said as a buyer's agent, that this will be taken care of, we'll get this taken care of, everybody takes care of it, not in a short sale. And that can come back to bite you big time. 2,000, that's, I don't know about anybody here, but for me, that's big money.
That is a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
Well,
Can I make, Gary, can I make a suggestion?
Sure, Bernadette, I'm going to refer to, go ahead, Bernadette.
What I would suggest is if you're the listing agent on a short sale, when you get the call for the inquiry, one of the very first questions you need to ask is, have you ever sold a short sale? Are you familiar with the process?
Yeah.
Because that saves you a whole lot of headache down the line. Because if you can explain it to the buyer's agent, they in turn can turn around and explain it to their buyer. The length of time that they have to wait, that yes, they can do an inspection, but they cannot expect to have anything repaired. So you cover that up front, you've pretty much done your due diligence. Because what I find is if the agents aren't familiar, they're truly going to think like it's a regular sale.
So I'm new to this. So when how do we know looking on HAR it is a short sale?
Down in Matrix at HAR, you have a section about roughly 2/3 of the way down. It's called disclosures. And in the disclosure, that's where it should be.
Okay.
Which, Sarah, you bring up a good point. If you're the listing agent, you have to disclose this, so be sure to put it in the agent remarks and in the disclosures. It's a checkbox.
And if there's a loss mitigation fee. That's another clue.
Let me cover that a little bit, because I wanted to cover that, and now's a good time since you brought it up, Bernadette. Some of us and some companies say, I don't want to mess with this. I'm talking about real estate companies. So they will contract, or they will give this over to, usually it's a version of a law firm. They have a lawyer on board and a couple things. And that company will take care of doing all of these negotiations that you otherwise would be involved in and sometimes creating documents since they're lawyers and on and on. If they do that, obviously they're not doing it for free. There will be a charge. It's called a loss mitigation fee as far as an MLS, Sita. And
Yeah.
that fee can be easily $2,500 to $5,000. And I've seen a couple that were more than that. What that means to you from the buyer's side is, oh, price is $200,000. I just use a number. No, in reality, it's $200,000 plus $5,000. So keep that in mind, that that's an addition, that $5,000 gets added to your, as an expense to your buyer, as to the price, okay?
Okay.
I'm glad you brought that up, good, because I wanted to point that out. Now, some people would say, well, why would I want to use them? If you don't want to, if your time is too valuable to be messing around calling people to take care of it.
Plus Marilyn's gonna call you out.
Yeah.
Marilyn says we shouldn't be doing it ourselves without getting this. She won't call me out, but I mean, as far as
Yeah.
Terry and
different.
some of these other newer agents,
Yep,
he says there's too much liability there
Right.
yep,
for us
Right.
to be able to handle once we take care of all this initial stuff.
right.
So I'm trying to confirm and see if I get it right, because I'm new.
Yeah.
The loss of mitigation fee. Who is that? Who managed that? Is the broker that are buying or the broker that is selling?
The broker of the seller will find out what that is, finds that out, gets that number, makes the arrangements with that company and everything like that. At the closing, what they will have done is they will submit an invoice to the title company, and that'll be an expense that that will be paid, coming out of the buyer's funds.
Profit.
I see.
It's
So
not part of the, if the buyer has a loan, I have never seen it included as part of the loan. So it's actual cash money that the buyer is bringing.
Yeah. And as an
Oh.
additional closing, so Sita, what you want to do, if you have a buyer that is buying on this, make sure that they are communicating with their lender to make sure that this is all will be allowed by the lender, because some lenders will say, no, we're not going to go and allow that because of your loan to equity ratios and on and on and on. So, and if it's an FHA loan, it gets some complications there also.
can that?
Barry, this is
Someone else
Cindy.
had a
I have a
question.
question. I have
Yeah.
a question. When you're just mentioned that about if it's an FHA or a VA loan, I understand that they're sold as is with repairs, but what if you get in a situation where someone comes with an FHA or a VA loan and there's something like rotten wood or termites and they won't, I mean, they're not gonna allow that purchase, are they? That's gonna be the property that will make it kick out.
Yeah, you have two options on that, and neither of them are good. Well, one is, well, have the buyer pay for it and fix it up before, so it will pass. Can they do it? Yes. I would never recommend it, but it is possible depending what it is. And then have them come back, or the deal dies. You've heard of the golden rule, which is he who has the gold rules. Well, FHA and VA have if they say we are not going to fund this unless such and such thing is done and nobody can afford to do it, that deal has just died.
Okay, so we need to keep that in mind up front when we know there's a defect.
Oh yeah.
Okay, thanks.
And here's the thing, you're going with an FHA loan or a VA. The very first day when you're showing this property, it's a short sale. That in itself is not a problem. Well, it could be, but when you're going through that house, if you see this problem and that problem, you're going to tell them this is not going to work. We need to keep looking.
Run.
So run, keep looking. That's right. Otherwise, and that comes back to when you're showing property ever, You're not, oh, isn't this pretty? Or just, well, let's see, the commission's going to be this could be good. You're there to look these things over, be aware of what's going on, and keep this in mind with the type of loan. That's where you and I earn our money. To give this extra weight, this is not going to work for your kind of loan. We don't even need to waste our time. Because again, keep it, and I'll say it 50 million times, these homes are as is where it is. And that's not, well, maybe no, they don't bend. Go ahead.
I have one more question. That's regarding the closing costs. Since it's a short sale, I'm sure the buyer don't have, the seller have no money. So how does the negotiation go with the closing costs? Can it be deducted from the closing, or how would that work? From the money of the price of the house, how does that work?
Now, the price doesn't change because of that. The price is purely what is the market value of the property right now.
I understand.
But, I've got all these closing costs. That's basically, and it's not, the bank comes back and says, the bank that holds the current mortgage, we will wire the money in this nowadays to cover these costs. Example, I'll pick on you, Sia. You've got a commission you're getting. You're not going to work for free. At least I'd recommend you don't. Therefore,
no, I don't.
Therefore, where is the money going to come that will come to Keller Williams?
From the price?
No, not the price.
From the lender.
From the lender, because remember, there was not enough money to cover all of these expenses and everything with the sales price. The sales price will be applied, but it'll be insufficient. So who's picking up the difference for all these different things? And it's the bank.
Yeah.
So just to make sure I understand, then the closing costs on all short sales will go to the lender. Is that right?
Well, paid by the sales price will cover up to a certain amount, and anything in excess of that is what the lender is having to pay or write off or come take care of. That is correct. That's why, to keep it kind of simple, that's why the banks aren't quick to just say, oh yeah, we'll go ahead and write off 20,000, because in reality, that's purely the mortgage. That's not necessarily everything that they're going to have to write off.
Okay.
And Bernadette and Jack, did I miss anything on that point? Because
I say two things. When you write the offer from a buyer's agent, if you're an agent that's used to asking for closing costs, you can still go ahead and ask for closing costs, but I bet you my last dime,
You won't get them.
mortgage lender is not going to authorize it. So if your buyer needs closing cost money in order to get to the closing table, a short saler, depending on the price of it, is not for them.
right.
In addition,
that was exactly what sorry.
In addition, we're used to asking for home warranties. The lenders won't approve those either. So don't put it in there and tell your buyer, well, at least if there's anything wrong with the house, we can go to the home warranty company. Nope, you cannot, unless your buyer is going to pay for it themselves. But you're talking a bare bones contract. Nothing is going to be given because these people don't have
They
any,
don't have it
and the bank is not going to give away the house.
because they're trying to make a profit or break even.
They want to lose the least amount of money possible.
Correct.
The other thing will be, though, and I want to point this out, and one of you, Bernadette, mentioned for the home warranty, we always recommend that somebody should get in, so the buyer says, I'll pay for it. That needs to be put into the contract on paragraph 11, your special provisions saying that the buyer will pay for the home protection plan. You can put the dollars or not, that's up to you, but that needs to be covered.
Do we need to put on special provision? Isn't there a place where you choose the buyer to pay for it? On paragraph, I forgot right now.
No, it says up there, how much will the seller pay for it?
And they aren't.
contribute for it, and you're gonna put in 0.
Yep.
Yep. Another thing on your home warranties, home warranty company, from my experience, will not cover, let's say, a stove that wasn't working,
And shorts, yeah.
you know, and it doesn't get repaired in a short sale. The home warranty company is not going to take care of it. Same thing for an air conditioner or heater. So then your client has just wasted $600.
Out money, right.
Well, and that's why even if it's a short sale or any purchase, you should always have an inspection report done, because then if that stove was working for the inspection, you can say it was working on such and such date, and you can fight it.
Yep. True.
If you didn't if you get these people, oh, I don't want to do an inspection, I want to save that $400. They're out of luck. They are totally out of luck.
So you would recommend an inspection on probably any property, but especially a short sale.
Absolutely. Not only a home inspection, but also a pest.
Got it.
Yeah. Pest, for those that may, for here, that's, your all different kinds of termites. It includes your carpenter ants, your rats.
Right.
People say rats? Yeah, because they can cause a lot of
Squirrels.
damage in a house besides being unhealthy.
Right.
Girls.
Pest inspection is truly,
I remember that because I had an agent call me just last week that sold a house in February, and this is now May. They've just discovered termites near the fireplace, and they have to clear all that out. And guess what? They did not have a pest inspection.
ooh,
So February, March, 90 days later, the seller's disclosure, and I told her, take a look at the seller's disclosure, because at KW, I'm trying to recruit her. At KW, you will never get paid, because that seller's disclosure has to be completely filled out.
Yep.
So take a look at it and see, what did the seller disclose? She said, well, the seller didn't disclose anything. I think that the seller cherry picked what she wanted to complete, and they accepted it.
Woo.
So I told her, make sure you have all your notes together, because I'm sure this is going to trick. Well, the home inspector didn't say anything. I said, he's not supposed to, because that's not what he's licensed for.
right.
Have to have the pest inspection. So even on a short sale, with all the deferred
Oh.
maintenance that these people have had because they haven't had any money, pest would be one of the first to go.
Yeah. You should, as a buyer's agent, you should have a pest inspection and a mechanical structural inspection for every home you buy, buy.
Every
Oh,
home.
it's only 3 years old. Well, guess what? I've seen homes that weren't taken care of well in 3 years that needed huge repairs for ACs.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of termites that for 2 or 3 year old homes. If
Gary-
you can't afford $350 for, say, $450, you really need to reassess your
They're
purchase.
looking in the wrong price bracket.
You're exactly right.
Gary, the mechanical structure test you're saying, is that the foundation?
Yeah, they check the foundation as far as is it level and that sort of thing. If there's a deviation that's beyond no foundation is perfectly level. So they will go ahead and check that to make sure is it within a deviation that's allowed.
So just to make sure I understand, if you get a foundation company, they're just gonna check a foundation. But if you get a mechanical instructor, who you get that with, and they check everything, is that right?
Well, they'll check everything, but they'll just say you've got a deviation. Then from there, you'll call a foundation company to come out to determine what is the cause of this deviation, and is it a true big problem or not? Okay. Back to my what do you call it? Back to the short sale.
Uh-huh.
Any questions about that? Because I don't want to get away from that and leave anybody that's got a question about that. But
No.
again, be sure for your buyers, make sure for your buyers that they understand this process can sometimes take a good while. And if they really need a home that they can move into within 5 weeks, don't even be showing them short sales or foreclosures maybe, depending on a few things, but definitely not a short sale. Because normally they run definitely more than 4 to 6 weeks.
So Gary, you would recommend really reaching out to your contacts, just a lot of people that might not know right now that they're not going to be able to make their mortgages, but might have an idea about it. And if they are unemployed because of oil and gas or however much, and they're not sure when they may be, do you enter a conversation if I'm here for you if things don't turn around? Or I don't want to be like in their business, but I want to support them.
What my call, because I've been making my calls too, and if
Right.
anybody's been in bold, you're supposed to make 20 calls a day, well, now they're giving us 40, 20
Yeah.
calls and all that stuff. Mine is just calling in to find out how things are going. You know, if it's, you know, really crazy out there and everything, I just wanted to reach out and then kind of let them take them and go from
Talk.
there.
Okay.
And, you know, you can just say, well, how's work going on that? Are you still guys okay and safe that way? I'm leading to find out, God
Correct.
forbid, that if they've got a problem, hey, are we going to be okay for down the road, or, you know, is there
They
something we
want
need
to talk.
about?
They want somebody to
That's
talk
right.
to.
Let them talk.
Right.
Don't try to go into a sales pitch.
Got it.
They don't.
No,
This
I
isn't the
don't.
time of our
No.
lives to do the sales pitch.
I can't do it. I
Yeah.
feel for them. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. That's what I
Okay,
needed.
we are at 3 o'clock. Is there? But again, did I leave out anything, or are there any questions about anything
No.
about the short sale?
Gary,
You
quick question, Gary.
Yes, Leota.
Okay, so if you are a buyer agent and then, you know, you see some of the short sale house, I don't think we can negotiate on the price, could we?
If-
Can we negotiate on the price at all? I mean, you know.
Okay, good question. Is the price negotiable? That's where it's Jack's listing. I'm going to say, Jack, is this the number from the lender,
Lender.
or are we waiting on them to come back with a number? If they
Right.
say we're still in the process, then we try to negotiate that price. If they say no, this is the number from the bank,
Yeah.
then probably no. There is no negotiations at that point usually.
Got it. Okay.
And you're the buyer's agent. When do you want to close? Well, today's what, May 18th? Oh, I want to close July 18th. That's 2 months from now. Don't be surprised if the bank says no. If you're
Yeah.
if we take this, it's going to be within 30 days or 40 days, something like that. They are not going to let that thing hang out there forever.
Right, yeah. It can go to 6 months, like you say. So, you know,
Yeah.
whenever- what is the stages? Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Gary. Thank you, Gary.
Thank you,
You're all
Gary.
welcome. Thank you all for
Thank
coming.
you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Talk to you later.
you.
Thank you so much, Gary.
You're welcome. You all take care and stay safe, okay?
You too.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.